Hello students, welcome to this Frames 5 video tutorial on Fire Part 3. Please open Frames 5 from your application screen and please open your previously saved file called Fire. Alright, let's review what we've done. We've created 7 frames and we've created our flame with 3 layers. We've tested our animation, so again, you can always view your animation. As an animator, you constantly have to be watching your video to make sure that it's playing smoothly. So I'm going to click on frame 1 and I'm going to click play. So as we mentioned at the end of last tutorial, the 7 frames, they don't last very long. It's a very short animation. So the thing is that we've created 7 completely different frames. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy them and we're going to loop them over and over and over again. Okay, so this is how we do it. So from the timeline at the bottom of the screen, I want you to click on frame 1. Then on your keyboard, in the bottom left-hand corner, I want you to hold down the Control key, the CTRL key. I want you to hold it down and don't let go until I say. With the Control key held down, I want you to click on frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, frame 5, frame 6, and frame 7. Now that you have all of these frames highlighted or clicked on, you see they're all highlighted in blue, you can let go of the Control key. Now let's go to the top toolbar and look for this tool or this button called Duplicate. So let's click on that. So now you see on the bottom timeline that we've duplicated those 7 frames in order. I don't want you to click anything because I want these new 7 frames still highlighted. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click duplicate again, and we're going to click duplicate again. So what we've done is we've taken our 7 original frames and we've multiplied them or duplicated them 4 times. So now we have 28 frames. So we have a slider at the bottom here. At the bottom of the timeline, I've got a slider that I can access left to right and so that I can click on any of the frames. So use the slider and slide all the way to the left. Let's click on frame 1. And now let's see the difference. Now that we've looped these 7 frames 4 times, we have a longer animation. So let's click on play. It's nice when the animation runs a little bit longer. Okay, so kind of looking more like a movie now. All right, so let's use, in the timeline, let's use the slider again. And let's click on frame 1. Now I want you to hold the Shift key, not the Control key, but the Shift key. And while you're holding it down, use the slider and go all the way to the right, to the end of your animation, and click on the last frame. Now let go of the Shift key. Now because we use the Shift key, it should now have highlighted all of the frames in between the first frame and the last frame. So I'm going to demonstrate that once more. I'm going to click on the first frame. I'm going to hold the Shift key. I'm going to use the slider, go all the way to the end, and click on the last frame. When you hold the Shift key, you have to remember that you have to click on the first frame and the last frame, and the Shift key allows you to highlight all of the frames in between. So now we're going to do something new. Right above the timeline here, you'll see an area here in the panel, in the Tools panel, called Duration. Now in Frames 5, all of the frames are set as a default to 0.5 seconds. That's kind of a default in the animation world. So what I want to do is I want to speed up the animation because it's fire. Fire is not a slow moving thing. So what I want to do is I want to highlight where it says 0.5, and then using my keyboard, I'm just going to type in 0.3. Now, you could have used the slider here, but it's much more accurate just to type in the timing that you want. Okay, so how does that affect the animation? All right, so let's use the slider and go all the way back to frame 1. Let's click on frame 1 and let's press play. Now you see that the flame is moving quite a bit more quickly. It's a little bit more natural this way. Now, if you don't like the look of it, you can repeat that step and you can set it to a different time. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to use the slider. Make sure you go all the way back to frame 1, hold the shift key, use the slider and go all the way to the end and click on the last frame. Then let go of the shift key. Then you can change this timing. If you want it to move even faster, you can try 0.2 seconds. I think 0.1 seconds is a little bit too fast, and anything more than 0.5 seconds is just too slow. What's very frustrating as an audience or as a viewer is to watch a slow moving animation because it just shows that the animator didn't bother to adjust the time. So I'm going to keep it at 0.3 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to click on this frame up here to kind of deselect everything, and I'm going to click on frame 1. Okay, all right. So actually, I'm going to click in this area here to deselect. Now you see that none of the frames are selected. I had to click in this area. Clicking on this frame didn't really do it. All right, so let's click on frame 1. I'm going to make sure the slider is all pushed all the way to the left, and I'm going to click on slide or frame 1. Okay, so let's set kind of a nighttime background here to this flame. It doesn't have to be night. We could be looking at a fire in a fireplace, and therefore the surrounding area would be dark. Okay, so we don't want the pencil tool. We want to make sure that we're clicked on the arrow tool or the selection tool. So under frame options here, we have a fill. Again, a fill color. So that is filling the entire frame. We probably want it solid color, but we can experiment. Let's keep it solid color for now. And what I want to do is I want to change the background from white to not black, because the problem is if I choose black, I'm going to lose this outline of black here. So I'm going to choose a shade of gray. And there we go. That looks pretty nice. Now you can experiment with different background colors. You can go lighter. You can go a little bit darker if you wish. And maybe now I'm going to experiment with this fill options. So it didn't really work for the flame. Remember we used that in the previous tutorial. But let's try it with this one. So let's try a linear gradient. So we've got 2 shades of gray here, and that works pretty nicely, doesn't it? You can try a radial gradient. See if you like that. I'm going to stick actually with the linear gradient. I like that a lot. Now it gives you some adjustment points here. So you can experiment with that, and that just kind of moves where the gradient or the direction that the gradient is moving. So I'm actually going to make it as an angle, and I'm going to stretch it out. Now again, you can experiment with these things. When you get the background that you like, and you want to put it in all of the frames, you don't want to go in and paint every single background by hand or do it frame by frame. So Frames 5 gives you a nice convenient button here that says apply to all frames. So let's click on that. And then you'll see in your timeline that it has put that background in all of your frames. So one tool I never want you to use is this, the pan and zoom. Okay, let's not click on that. Okay, so let's see how that's improved our animation. Let's click on frame 1 and let's click on play. Very nice to see that fire kind of roaring with that background. Now, if you find that you get to the animation and you don't like your background, that's fine. You can slide back to the first frame. You can change your background, you can set a new background, and then you can click apply to all frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose a darker background, not black, but I'm going to make everything a little bit darker. And then, now that I've changed it, I'm going to click Apply to All Frames again. Okay, so here's a good time to save. So let's save. Okay. All right, so this concludes this Frames 5 video tutorial on Fire Part 3. Please continue on with the next tutorial without calling Mr. Ueda over. Thanks for watching. Bye.